Good morning, YouTube. What's up, everyone? It is morning. I'm pissed off. Just got a new Xbox controller in the mail. Fucking don't work. I can't play video games with this fucking thing. It just doesn't connect to the PC. I'm pissed. Jealous that Big Feet don't have such problems. It was refurbished. That was my first mistake, was a refurbished controller. I know. I fucked up. Took me forever to get my fucking money back. Just gonna go get me the Mad Catz controller from the GameStop. Remember those days? Me either at this point. Picking up The Hoopa Project by David Paulides. We are in our final chapter. I'm thinking it's 2 more readings. 2 more. Then I'm going to go on to Juggalo. Juggalo by Steve Miller. ICP and the world they created. Something like that. I'm actually going to do it. I'm sorry, everybody who wanted more paranormal and more fucking spiritual and occult stuff. You're getting Juggalos. But guess what? I'm going to wrap that all up with occult stuff. I'm going to be talking about occult stuff the whole time. That's my goal. All I can do is try. It do be 7 a.m. and I'm talking to myself on the internet. Who could possibly be up at this point to give a crap about the shit I'm saying? Basically nobody. I could start shilling. Oh, everybody. Hit the link. Everybody out there in TV land. Nah, this is just for you and me. Me and the one other person in here. We get to enjoy this all alone before the world wakes up. Okay, let's get on with it. Also, give me a whoop whoop. Let's get on with it. Chapter 6. Forensic Sketch Art. Harvey Pratt. Many of the skeptics I've met during my time researching Bigfoot tend to rely on the argument that says that the witness made a mistaken identification. The skeptic wants to believe that the witness saw a bear, a man dressed in an animal costume, or some other easy explanation that is difficult to refute. I have heard these arguments hundreds of times and knew from the beginning how I would address them. In my years as a police officer, I was always fortunate to work with two of the best sketch artists who edited this book again. I was always fortunate to work with 2 of the best sketch artists in the world. Both artists were very professional, law enforcement oriented, and great artists. They had an ability to get inside the mind of the witness or victim and extract the portrait of the suspect and replicate it on paper. The sketches that came from the meeting between the artist and witness were always later compared to the suspect arrested for the crime. If you compared the sketch to the suspect's booking photo, it would appear that the artist drew the sketch with the suspect sitting in the room. They are that close. I always wanted to determine how it could work if you put a Bigfoot witness in the room with a professional forensic artist. Could the artist extract from the witness the Bigfoot description to the point of making the witness feel as though they nailed the identification? Would the effort be fruitless because the sketch artist is trained on human faces only? These questions and concerns didn't stop me from attempting to put a sketch artist and Bigfoot witness together. The first hurdle in any hiring process, especially for a sketch artist, is to find a person who is the exact fit for the job. Hoopa is not a culturally diverse California city. It is predominantly Native American and, as such, has its own built-in biases and concerns. Hoopa is in a rural area, somewhat isolated from major cities. Some of the Hoopa residents have felt exploited in the past by others who have entered their community, taken their resources, and then left without concern for the welfare of the Hoopa people. Bigfoot witnesses in Hoopa range from 17 to 87. The witnesses are students and teachers, laborers and professionals, men and women, pessimists and optimists. a complete cross-section of the society. There's Harvey Pratt working on a Bigfoot drawing in Hoopa. In reviewing the Hoopa environment and understanding the cultural aspects of the community, it became apparent that the forensic sketch artist hired needed to be someone who knew the cultural aspects of the Native American intimately and could relate to a variety of ages and backgrounds. The artist had to have a background as a forensic sketch artist, as well as experience in cultural sensitivity, not an easy bill to fill. If the person chosen had a law enforcement background, they needed to have a low-key demeanor, be easy to understand, and a non-offensive interview style. The last, but certainly not least important criterion, was that the artist had to have an open mind about the possibility of the existence of Bigfoot. Neggy, stop fucking around. You're making a bunch of noises, kitty. Calm down. Why are you all wet? What the fuck did you get into? Whatever. My search for the sketch artist started with Googling forensic sketch artist. After the search, I spent considerable time reviewing all of the applicable hits. I made over 15 phone calls and had long conversations with many of the artists. None seemed to fit. I again went back to Google and tweaked the search. One of the last sites that I reviewed showed a Native American artist who worked for a state police department. It also showed that the individual had training with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Federal Bureau of Investigation? Of Identification? It's fucking me all up because it says FBI in parentheses. Federal Bureau of Identification. I knew I was fucking it up, but I couldn't figure out how. The individual had training with the Federal Bureau of Identification, also known as the FBI. He was sketch artist Harvey Pratt. I spoke to Harvey by phone and felt an immediate connection and a comfortable flow of communication between us. During our initial conversations, I didn't advise Harvey what he would be drawing, but I questioned him about his specific artistic abilities and flexibility on travel. After those initial conversations, it was clear that Harvey was our possible artist. I later explained what he would be drawing, and casually moved on to another topic. Harvey was fascinated with the topic and even confided and even Damn it, Neggy, go the fuck away. Just gonna break shit. Come on. Fucking bong laying on its side over here. Fuck. Harvey was fascinated with the topic and even confided that he had often discussed Bigfoot with his wife. He stated that Bigfoot had been spotted fairly close to their house in Oklahoma. Prior to finalizing our agreement, I asked Harvey to forward his resume, which he did. Harvey Pratt's resume looks like it was custom made for the job. Born El Reno, Oklahoma. Member Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes. Total law enforcement experience 40 years. Education. University of Central Oklahoma. Oklahoma State University. Federal Bureau of Investigation. National Academy. So that's a different thing than the other FBI? I'm fucking confused. Military service. United States Marines, 1962 through 1965. Member, 1st Combat Unit into Vietnam. Law enforcement. Basically, he's a Fed, is what we're getting at here. Law enforcement experience, 1967 through 1972. Police officer, Midwest Police Department, Oklahoma. 1968, did first law enforcement drawing of a homicide suspect. 1972, joined Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation. Special assignments, narcotics, special investigations, intelligence. 1990, promoted to assistant director of of the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation. Responsible for 400 employees and developed automated fingerprint systems and computerized state law enforcement systems. The only OSBI agent doing forensic sketch art and completed sketches for the following cases: Henry Lucas / Otis O'Toole, Green River Killer, BTK Killer, Ted Bundy, I-5 Killer, Murrah Federal Building Bombing, Randolph Dial. Many other homicides and violent crimes cases were also worked to conclusion via sketches. Okay. Specific forensic art expertise. Witness descriptive drawing, skull tracing, age progression, soft tissue reconstruction, restoration of photographs. Special recognition. Inductee. Southern Cheyenne Chiefs Lodge. Recognized as one of the traditional Cheyenne peace chiefs. Recognized by Cheyenne people as Outstanding Southern Cheyenne. Recognized as a master Native American artist. Completed art projects in oil, acrylic, watercolor, metal, clay, and wood. Dude's proficient. When I received the resume, I couldn't believe my eyes. Harvey appeared to be born, raised, trained, educated, and professionally molded specifically for working on the Hoopa Bigfoot research project. Nobody else that I interviewed came close to his credentials. When I spoke to Harvey and confirmed with him that we had agreed on his price and specific job issues, he was elated. He told me my medicine is strong on this issue. That's very cool. That's a very cool sentence. On March 19th, 2007, Harvey and his wife Gina arrived in Hoopa. They met me in my room, and there was immediate chemistry among all of us. Harvey and his wife are very warm, caring people who were as interested in the Bigfoot project as I was in listening about their past experiences. I gave Harvey and Gina the agenda for the week and explained that I would do everything possible to get Harvey out of his meetings and into the mountains at every opportunity possible. I had scheduled 4 interviews per day at 2.5-hour intervals with accommodations for meals and breaks. It was a full schedule. Interview day 1. I had attempted to mix the witnesses by age, date of sighting, and sex so that Harvey was not deluged in any one day by a consistent stream of the same type of sightings. At the end of each interview, we would thank the witnesses, discuss their drawing, answer questions, and then debrief after they left. The first day, the interviews were in the following order: Damon Colgrove, Julianne McCovey, Romeo McCovey, Raven Ulabari. I must admit that after Damon's drawing, I was slightly stunned. In my years of researching Bigfoot, I had heard from many witnesses that Bigfoot was a mix between human and ape or gorilla. I had read many accounts of hunters who were reluctant or unwilling to shoot at Bigfoot because it looked too human. The only Bigfoot facial pictorial that existed on film was the Bluff Creek video. The face on that footage was covered with hair and looked somewhat similar to a gorilla with some human characteristics. When Harvey had completed Colgrove's drawing, my thoughts about Bigfoot changed forever. One thing about the Bluff Creek video, the Patterson footage, you can barely make out a face. And I guess from the perspective of proportions and ratios, maybe you can kind of put together whether it's more of an ape or human face. But really, it's just dark smudges on the brown that kind of indicate where a face would be. Damon was very sure about what he witnessed. Damon is an artist, and thus looked for finite detail. The detail that Damon recalled helped immensely in Harvey's drawing. The most interesting part was the facial structure that Harvey was able to recreate. It looked very much a cross between human and animal. If Damon had not been sure about the accuracy of Harvey's drawing, I would question it. But Damon was positive that Harvey had nailed it. The second witness, originally scheduled, had to cancel. I had wanted to talk with Julianne in the previous week, but she was out of town. The Tuesday morning that the interview started, I saw Julianne in front of the market and asked if she could participate that morning. Being the flexible person that she is, Julianne accepted. This was an important interview because Julianne had stated from the beginning that she felt her Bigfoot was female, one of the few witnesses who made that claim. Look at those Look at that beautiful couple. It's me and my GF. God help anyone who would disrespect his queen. Bigfoot does really look like our boy Matt. Our boy Mateo, who went to the gathering last year, he met with us, with all the Skinwalker gang. We met the insane clown posse. Shaggy Two Dope said Matt looked like a baby Bigfoot. He looked just like this Bigfoot right here. Very, very similar. Can't wait to go to that fucking gathering. Whoop, whoop, motherfuckers. Really hype about that. Yeah, can't wait. Can't wait to do more Juggalo content. Gonna be reviewing some Juggalo wrestling. Harvey worked well with Julienne and was able to produce a drawing that reflected the subtleties of a female. Julienne explained to Harvey that she felt the creature was pregnant, had another smaller creature on its stomach, or had a very large abdomen. She also believed that the creature was smiling at her as she walked past. Showing teeth like that, what we interpret as a smile in the ape world, is a threat. Where it doesn't show fear. No, the open mouth shows fear. That's why it became the soy boy thing. Julien's drawing had more characteristics of an animal than human, but it was close. You could see a human quality about the drawing, and Harvey was able to draw it to Julienne's satisfaction. I should state that all of the witnesses were willing to tell Harvey when he did not have the drawing correct. They didn't accept first, second, and sometimes third drawing renditions. There was always a good dialogue between Harvey and the witness, and Harvey never showed indications of being defensive of his drawings. Note that Julienne's creature has more jutting jaws, but it also has the long hair that appears in Damon's sketch. Julienne's creature has more jutting jaws, but it also has the long hair that appears in Damon's sketch. So it's saying... Still like to note the sexual dimorphism. That the hair is the same on the top of the head, but it is the facial hair that is different. The first afternoon started with Romeo Mccarty. I knew that Romeo had seen the creature at night without any direct lighting, thus making the sketch a challenge. Romeo made a great effort with Harvey's assistance, but couldn't add significant detail other than what appears in the drawing. I appreciated Romeo's honesty and straightforward approach to the drawing, as he could have easily fabricated many features, which he didn't. The drawing didn't take long to complete, and Romeo appeared to feel bad that it didn't have more detail. We did glean some valuable information from the drawing: the massive shoulders, hairy facial area, and how tall the creature was when it stood up. The location of Romeo's sighting was also significant, as it occurred very near sightings by Inker and Kim Peterson. Romeo's sketch, Raven facial sketch, Raven back sketch. Here we have a very handsome Bigfoot with a firm buttocks. I love the sketch on the left. Like that, I feel like that could be made into like a really fucking good like retro movie poster. Like some Boggy Creek shit. Love it. Looks awesome. Gonna get it tattooed on my ass. Where was I? The person who had the longest and most intense Bigfoot experience was the final interview for Tuesday, Raven Ulabari. Now, I disagree with this. This was the lady who came out of her house and saw Bigfoot digging through her fucking, her shed looking for used tampons. Gross. Now, that's like a pretty good experience. She was supposedly looking at it for like 20 minutes or something. But what about the guy who was taking a dump and like Bigfoot reached in through the window and tried to jerk him off while he was taking a dump? You tell me that's not the most intense experience? The most intense, the cleanest, best pleasure? Well, anyway. Raven had seen the Bigfoot who visited her backyard, got a great close-up look, and then had police officers respond to the trespassing and prowling. Raven was a superb witness who obviously has that memory permanently etched into her brain. Raven was able to stay poised enough to take a good look at the creature's face, watch it leave her property, and then have the ability to stand and watch. Remarkable! We knew that Raven had one of the best looks at a Bigfoot, but we didn't know she would be able to provide guidance for 2 drawings of different views. I do believe that the profile sketch that Harvey completed for Raven is one of the best of the week. Raven was able to detail specific aspects of the face that assisted in bringing out personality and character. It's interesting to note that this creature also had flowing hair down the back, a large forehead, and facial hair. It's also important to note the length of the creature's arms relative to the length of the body. Raven insisted that the arms hung near the creature's knees. She also described how the creature was carrying a large garbage bag in one hand, and the bag didn't touch the ground. That's how tall it was. The creature's eyes have a definite human quality and don't have the jutting and hooded brows that you see with primates. The mouth area does have a slight bulb to it like a primate, but the general facial structure is soft enough to show human qualities. Let's take another look. This is like you could frame that photo and like give it to your grandma and tell her it's like a sketch of Jesus, and she'll like put it on the mantle. God, I love Bigfoot. Love Jesus too, but I really like Bigfoot. There is not a great distance between Romeo's sighting and Raven's sighting, maybe half a mile. From Raven's house to Kim Peterson's sighting is less than a quarter mile, and less than 1/8 of a mile to the Pliny McCovey sighting. It could be possible that the creature observed by Romeo is the same as seen by Raven. At the end of the first day of sketches, Harvey, Gina, and I sat in the room and were mesmerized. The drawings were very revealing, and not what we were expecting. The Pratts made the comment that they felt the witnesses were very credible and surely saw what they claimed. Harvey has 40 years of law enforcement experience, Gina 15, and myself 30. There was therefore a combined 85 years of law enforcement experience judging the credibility and integrity of each witness. The first day's verdict was in. All of the witnesses were incredible. Okay, how you go from one sentence saying how credible they are, then literally call them incredible. It's not even a different it is a different sentence. It makes it a little better. But come on, who was editing this book? And all did a great job describing their experience and their Bigfoot. How can you like own a Bigfoot, man? Interview day 2. The second day gave Harvey an interesting mix of witnesses. 2 witnesses' sightings were made from a car and 1 from a bed. 2 witnesses were tribal members and 1 was a store manager. 2 of the witnesses were female and 1 male, and the ages were spread quite far apart. Day 2 started with Tane Pai Wick. Tane Pai Wick? Who knows, man? That ain't English. What did I say last time? Tane? Tane sounds better. I think that's what I said. We'll keep doing that. Tane saw Bigfoot when she was a little girl lying in bed with her aunt. Tane said that the memory of seeing Bigfoot was burned into her brain, and she will never forget the experience. Tane's husband, Corky, dropped her off at the hotel. She quickly became engaged with Harvey on the project, and the sketch came together rapidly. Tane had done a drawing of the creature in an art class in high school, and even allowed me to photograph the drawing when I was at her residence. There are similarities between what Tane drew in high school and the sketch that Harvey produced. Harvey was not allowed to view Tane's picture until he was completely finished with the sketch. At the conclusion of the meeting, Tane expressed her appreciation with what Harvey produced and felt it was a great rendition of the Bigfoot she witnessed. This is an amazing image. I love this sketch. I would hang this on my wall. That fucking happy Bigfoot. Harvey's sketch for Tane. Tane's drawing in high school. I like the high school drawing too. The eyes on that motherfucker are striking. And the eyes are striking on both of them in two different ways. And on Harvey's sketch, it is the humanity that really comes forth. On Tane's drawing, it's like, this is like shit that like Amy the gorilla in like Congo would have painted on her walls. Like, this is like the lost city of Zinj. Lost city of Zinj. Fuck, man. Corky arrived at the hotel and picked up Tane when she was completed with her sketch. Gina, Harvey, and I had a post-sketch meeting. It was our general feeling that the sketch was accurate. Tane had made a point of saying that this wasn't a human, it was a creature. When Corky came into the room to pick Tane up, he looked at the sketch and stated that the picture was of a lost mystical Indian. Tane felt was that it wasn't a native. Tane felt was that... Who edited this? Tane felt was that it wasn't a Native American, but it appeared to her to be half human and half creature. She explicitly mentioned that the creature's teeth were green, and it had a hairy upper body, head, and a face that was not human. The reality of Harvey and Tane's sketch is that there is a human factor in the face of each drawing. Tane had told me in earlier conversations that she felt this creature was old and it might have actually lived in the cabin where they were sleeping. This was an idea that she and her aunt had discussed after the sighting. You can see that Harvey's drawing shows an aged quality to the sketch, and the creature does appear to have less hair on the top of its head compared to other sketches completed that week. Here we have Malarkey's sketch and Martin's sketch. We got that stride happening, and they are strikingly similar. One of the most interesting things I think so far about all of these comparisons of Bigfoot is in the faces and how some are more ape and some are more human. And maybe that's just, differences in this, just slight differences in the species, just like humans look different. But at the same time, we did reference Indians leaving their sickly and their sickly children out in the wilderness, like just to get rid of them, to reduce their burden and the mouths they had to feed. And then the children would disappear. And there wouldn't be any remains, there wouldn't be anything left, but the children would be gone, and they would say that Bigfoot took them to raise them. So it's a question of is Bigfoot mating with humans? Is that what Missing 411 is all about, maybe? Is that why they steal people? Give me a whoop whoop in the chat. I ain't got no whoop whoop in the chat yet. It's pissing me off. The second interview, on the second day, was with the most pessimistic witness prior to his sighting that I'd ever met. Michael Malarkey. I'm not just pessimistic, I think it's malarkey. Michael Malarkey made it a point to tell me that he'd heard all about Bigfoot in his time in Hoopa, and always believed that it was an old Native American legend that held no truth. Michael wanted to make it clear that he wasn't looking to see Bigfoot because he knew it wasn't real. He is a believer now. Michael is so soft-spoken that he flies under the radar in Hoopa. He doesn't talk to the general public about his sighting. You almost have to pry it out of him. Michael met Harvey and appeared to be a bit skeptical of the entire process. He had some serious personal issues that were occurring during the interview, and we offered him the opportunity to come back later. He refused. As the interview progressed and the sketch began to come together, he started to concentrate even more. Michael was a witness who had a good look at the creature, but not a close-up view. The creature was caught in Michael's headlights as he saw it walk across the road in front of his vehicle. Michael was able to provide minimal facial information. He made a point of stating that the creature's arms and legs were long, and that it was generally huge. The sketch possessed the same long hair flowing down the back that previous witnesses had described. Michael's drawing was one of the first completed of the entire body of a creature. When the drawing was done, we didn't think a lot about the body structure or have a great credence in Michael's description until more of the drawings were completed, and they all started to appear similar. Michael's enthusiasm and participation continued to improve as the sketch came together. When Harvey was finally done, Michael couldn't believe how he was able to accomplish what he did. Michael was amazed. The third and last witness of the day was Jackie Martens. Jackie had witnessed the creature when she was 17 and driving into Hoopa from Bald Hills. Jackie and a friend were in a vehicle when the creature crossed in front of their car and went down a hillside. Jackie was very excited about working on the sketch project. She was someone who Harvey and Gina wanted to meet because of her Hoopa language background and her former position as a council member for the tribe. Jackie's drawing had some very interesting aspects to it that matched with other drawings. The creature had very long arms, had a huge chest and shoulders, and essentially no neck. If you look at all of the drawings to this point, there is a consistent theme that doesn't match with the vast majority of current Bigfoot drawings. Many of the drawings that you'll see on the internet have a significant level of ape-gorilla appearance. The sketches completed to this point in Hoopa have a significant human quality to them. Michael and Jackie's drawings are very similar in body appearance and stature. The sightings were made approximately 40 miles from each other and on different sides of the reservation. Michael's was at the south end and Jackie's was on Bald Hills Road that skirts the northwest corner. At the completion of the second day, Harvey and Gina again commented on the sincerity and honesty of the witnesses interviewed. Both felt that the witnesses were credible and honest, and they felt the entire experience of sketching the Bigfoot and talking to the witnesses about their sightings was exhilarating. We were all impressed with the size of the creature that each person described and the similarities in the physical attributes of each creature. Interview Day 3. This was going to be Harvey's busiest day, for many reasons. Harvey had 4 interviews scheduled, and we had to take a road trip of 30 miles to meet one of the witnesses. The first witness on the third day was Ed Maston. Over the last 24 months, Ed and I had become good friends, and I'd seen him on almost every trip to Hoopa. Ed is someone who would do anything for you and would go out of his way to assist in some way. As in past interviews, I did not tell Harvey or Gina anything about the individual except the specifics about their role on the reservation and their sighting. Ed was very punctual for his meeting and was eager to start the process. You could see that Ed had a specific idea of the creature etched in his mind. The creature had obviously left an eternal image on Ed's psyche because he had no problem describing and eventually changing details on the sketch. Ed and Harvey meandered their way through the process with a series of changes and explanations, all smoothly accomplished. Ed explained how he had encountered the creature twice in the Tishtang Basin. The best look he had of the creature was when it was standing partially behind a tree. As Harvey started to draw what Ed observed, you could tell that this drawing was going to be much different than the first 7. When the drawing was finished, it looked very much like the creature depicted in the famous Patterson-Gimlin Bluff Creek video. The creature had hair covering its entire face, had a look somewhat of a gorilla or ape, yet he stated it ran more like a human. The creature did have similarities to other drawings in that it didn't appear to have a neck. This is what happens when your book is edited fucking poorly as shit and sentences are all fucked up and words are just slapped in there accidentally. I start to assume every word is in there accidentally. Like, where's the mistake in this sentence? In Ed's description, the creature had hair lightly covering its forehead. There was also hair covering almost every region of the face, different than other witnesses' descriptions in other sightings. The face was also more round, with less of an abrupt jawline than seen in other drawings. There is the distinct lack of a high, hairless forehead in Ed's drawing. When Harvey was completed, Ed was very happy with the drawing and stated that it was a great depiction of what he saw in the woods. Witness number 2 on day 3 was Josephine Peters. Josephine was the oldest of the witness group and was also one of the few that has had multiple encounters with a Bigfoot. Josephine was over 80 years old, but had a very sharp mind and positive attitude about this entire process. She was at the point in life where it was very difficult for her to walk or drive, so her friend brought her to the hotel. We sat Josephine in the room and had a great conversation about Hoopa, lifestyles in the early 1900s, and what life was like today. Josephine readily talked about the stories that her mother and grandmother had told about her life in Hoopa in the late 1800s and how the valley had changed. I think someone just subbed me on Twitch. If that was you out there, I appreciate that. Nobody watches me on Twitch. I don't even tell people about the Twitch. A secret Twitch channel. Imagine what I do over there. The things I get up to. Nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Harvey got Josephine to the point of starting to describe the creature and its physical appearance as she witnessed it at her fence. She explained how the creature had come down from the creek near her backyard, and that she thinks it must not feel threatened, and that's why it has visited. She stated that she had a very good look at the facial area of the creature, and she felt that she could assist in that description. Harvey worked with Josephine on just the facial area of the Bigfoot. There were specific people we were targeting for specific areas of the body to draw, and Josephine was someone we had hoped could provide an excellent facial description. I'm just curious, like if they did have someone who saw Bigfoot's dong, like in detail, would they have to draw it? Would we have to get an in-detail look at the anatomy? She didn't let us down. After 30 minutes of describing the face, you could see the personality of the creature start to shine through on Harvey's drawing. There were minor changes that Harvey made as he progressed, but Josephine was doing an excellent job answering his questions and working with him on the colors and shading. Did we look at this? We didn't even look at it. Ed Maston sketch on the left, Josephine Peters sketch on the right. On the one on the left is much more of a Patty look. Like this is Patty's face from the Patterson-Gimlin footage. On the right is a much more expressive face. There are ape-like characteristics, maybe a pronounced muzzle. The lips look like they can move about, just like a chimpanzee would like use its lips. You have more of the brow ridge expressed. The brow ridge is expressed on both of these images. We got our boy, we got Blip on Twitch. Is that how I read that? He feels special. We should all feel special. I feel special right now. Josephine's sketch resembled several others that Harvey had completed earlier in the week. It had a high hairless or nearly hairless forehead, a light beard like a human male, long hair flowing off the back of the head. Reminds me of this video I saw with some hillbilly who said he saw Bigfoot in like North Carolina or something. I just remember the quote, "His hair was beautiful." Long flowing hair. And eyebrows that are not quite as heavy as an animal. Josephine explained the creature did not appear to have a neck, and she felt that the sketch depicted it adequately. After almost 2 hours of sketching, adequately doesn't sound like the compliment that I want to hear as the sketch artist. After almost 2 hours of sketching, refining, and changing, Josephine told Harvey that he had it perfect. There we go. After Josephine had left the room, Gina, Harvey, and I had a long talk about the differences between the Ed Maston sketch and Josephine's. Each witness was believable and credible, yet both sketches were very different. After the first two, and I don't know that they are that different, I think the Ed Maston sketch is far less detailed. And I don't mean that just in the detail that the artist gave. I get a sense that there was a lot less to go on. Like, there's nothing interesting going on in the fur at all. There's nothing standing out. It is fur the same length over the entire thing. Whereas on the Josephine Peters sketch, you have, like, the fur differs. On top of the head, it's a little shorter on the brow. It's a little shorter on the face. It's not really there at all. The beard is one thing. The hair on the body looks a little different than that. There's way more detail happening in the eyes too, and it's like a matter of expressiveness. It's almost like Josephine was able to nail like the emotions that she was sensing from the creature, and that is being added to the sketch, whereas the Ed Maston one doesn't have any of that. After the first 2 interviews of this day, Harvey, Gina, and I made a road trip to Orleans to interview our third witness, Mary McClelland. During the ride to Orleans, the Pratts were able to see the countryside, Bluff Creek, the Klamath River, and understand the landscape that Bigfoot roamed. They were fascinated by how rugged the mountains and forests were, and how thick the trees and brush were in and around the rivers. There were several places that we stopped and took photos, as Harvey had stated that they didn't have hills and rivers like this in Oklahoma. During our trip, we talked about the first 2 sketches of the day and were fascinated at the differences in the creatures and the sincerity and credibility of the witnesses. We arrived in Orleans, where we had agreed to meet Mary at the lone restaurant in town. The owners were extremely hospitable and allowed us to sit in the back area of the bar away from people. The location gave us the solitude that we needed and the lighting that was ideal for Harvey, period. Mary first apologized for making us drive to Orleans, but she stated that she was babysitting her boyfriend's kids and it was difficult for her to get away. She thanked us for making the trip and said she was eager to get started. Mary began to talk to Harvey about the position that she initially saw the Bigfoot and the best angle she had of seeing it. They both agreed that Harvey would draw a sketch of the creature in a slight crouch, getting up from the ground and looking back slightly. As the drawing started to take shape, you could start to see its enormous size. The proportions were not human, but its face was human-like. As in other drawings, Mary made a point of stating that she didn't see the face clearly enough to complete a facial profile sketch, but she did see it a little. She described that the creature had very long arms, much longer than a human's. It had huge shoulders and legs, much larger than any human's. You could actually see Mary start to smile as Harvey came to near completion of the Let's just cut the sentence off there. You could actually see Mary start to smile as Harvey came to near completion of the drawing. She was amazed at Harvey's ability to take her words and place them on paper in the figure she was attempting to describe. The Mary McClelland sketch on the left. Now, this is a very dynamic pose, and there is something very ape-like about it. I don't really even know what it is. I couldn't even explain, but it looks very realistic, like the way I could see some fucking monkey sitting in the trees like that, essentially. On the right, we have the Kim Peters sketch, which is classic Patty. That's Patty with small tits. That's flat-chested Patty, is all that is. We got Bop Bops in the YouTube chat. Bop Bops, what up, bro? What up, man? Everyone make sure you fucking sub and do all that nonsense. Pay me money. It's an option. Mary was with Inker McCovey when they saw the Bigfoot. She was excited to see how Inker would interpret her sketch, and how accurate her sketch would be to Inker's recollection. At the conclusion of Mary's interview, we stayed at the restaurant and had dinner. I encouraged Gina to have a piece of their homemade cheesecake. She agreed, and it's great. We made the early evening drive back to Hoopa for interview number 4. On the ride back, Harvey commented on how thorough Mary was with her descriptions and how Harvey felt that the drawing was accurate. He felt she was very credible. Mary's drawing also showed the same facial beard that is present in many of the drawings. Hair flowing towards the shoulders, massive upper legs and shoulders. Kim Peters was the last sketch of the day. Kim arrived after working a long day at her preschool. Kim was always someone who had a kind word and a cheerful personality. She entered the hotel room and I introduced Harvey and Gina. One of the first things that Kim told Harvey was that she was a person who never believed that this creature existed. Ever. She had made it clear to people in the community that she would be respectful of their Bigfoot statements, but held her own belief that this was either an illusion, dream, or another animal that looked like a Bigfoot. Kim now states that her mind has totally changed since seeing the creature, and now she is positive that Bigfoot does exist. Kim and Michael Mccarty had similar beliefs before seeing the creature, and now both are true believers. Kim's drawings started to come together and looked very similar to Mary McClellan's drawing. The similarities in the descriptions made some sense since both sightings were made less than a quarter mile from each other. As far as I know, Kim does not know Mary, and Kim had no idea that we had met with Mary earlier in the day. It is an absolute fact that Kim never saw Mary's sketch. Kim's description included a statement that the creature had a large chest, huge shoulders, and arms that extended to near the knees. She made a special point of stating that the legs looked very powerful. She said that the creature's entire upper body turned as it looked in her direction, and it appeared that the creature didn't have a neck like a human. Kim did the best she could on the facial description, but with the length of the sighting and the lighting conditions, the facial description did not have significant definition. Kim did say that the creature had hair on almost its entire body. So I can't believe that the creature doesn't have a neck. Like, I've seen humans that couldn't turn their necks because they were so jacked. So surely that's what's happening here. So yoked! At the end of the meeting with Harvey, Kim made the same statement to him that she made to me when I first interviewed her. Kim said that the sighting was frightening to her, and she went straight home, locked the doors, and didn't go outside at night for many weeks. At the session's conclusion, Harvey showed Kim the finished product. She was very happy. Kim confirmed that the drawing represented what she saw, and she thanked Harvey and myself for the opportunity to sketch the creature. At the close of the evening, Harvey, Gina, and I talked about the day's sketches, and went back to discuss the similarities between Kim's drawing and Mary's drawing. They were very close. I reminded Harvey that the locations of the sightings were close in proximity, and it may be possible to attribute some of the similarities to this. Maybe they are the same creature. Harvey said that the descriptions and the drawings were too close not to acknowledge their similarities. He couldn't say positively that both witnesses saw the same creature, but they were close. We also talked about Ed Maston's sketch at length. Harvey felt that Ed was being honest about what he saw, but we were still somewhat surprised at the differences between Ed's sketch and the sketches of other witnesses. Ed's creature had the most facial characteristics of an animal, gorilla or ape, while the other sketches had facial features that could be attributed to being human. Harvey felt that Ed was a very sensitive person who cared about doing a great job on the sketch and spent a lot of time explaining specific issues that he thought weren't correct. We all felt that Ed would not make a mistake on the drawing, and the result is what he exactly observed. Bop-bops in the chat. Agora is how I got here. Had read the book 2 decades ago. Felt like reading it again, but was too lazy, then I find you here. On to the second book, chapter 8. Thank you. Thank you for checking it out, man. And I highly recommend everybody go listen to my Agora readings. I would say that the spiritual books, the Agora books in particular, are some of my favorite books. But those are the thing I got the most out of. I didn't really get much, to be honest, out of the Hoopa project. It's great for some Bigfoot stories, and sometimes that's all you want. But man, Agora changed my life. So everyone go listen to that. It's in the playlists on the channel. Interview Day 4. Day 4 of sketches started with the one person in the Hoopa tribe that I'd spent the most time communicating and meeting with, and the one person in the tribe that had the most encounters with Bigfoot, Inker Mccarty. Inker had told me several times that he was looking forward to working on the sketches, and he was interested in learning more about Harvey. Inker was one of the few actually early for his appointment. I made the introductions, and Inker immediately took his seat and started to tell Harvey about the 3 encounters he had with Bigfoot. I had already briefed Harvey about Inker's encounters, and he knew that Ink was the driver of the vehicle Mary McClellan was in when they saw a Bigfoot. Harvey had decided to avoid having Inker complete a second sketch on the Mary Inker incident, and had him focus on the arm that entered his bathroom as a child, and the two Bigfoot he had observed on the hillside. The first sketch drawn for Inker was the arm in the bathroom. This is my favorite story. Inker explained to Harvey how he was a little boy sitting on the toilet when the Bigfoot arm reached inside an open window and attempted to grab him. Inker was questioned about the possible motive of the Bigfoot, and we briefly discussed it as a group. Inker did confirm that there was always a small garbage can in the bathroom adjacent to the toilet, but in the general direction of where the arm was reaching. Inker did confirm that there were females living in the house. Could Bigfoot have been reaching for a sanitary napkin in the garbage, or maybe even made a mistake and thought Inker was a female? If we review the issues surrounding Raven's sighting, and the sanitary napkins in her garbage, that she did just have in the garage for some reason, maybe the same issues involved Inker. I did ask every elder I had met in the Hoopa tribe if they had ever heard of a boy being kidnapped by a Bigfoot, and the answers were a unanimous no. That's interesting. Now we know Missing 411 that they widen that search a lot. There's a lot of men involved with that. So I don't know if that's something that his opinion changed on over time. We'll figure that out. We'll figure it out one day. We'll figure it out. We'll get to the bottom of this mystery. What happened to the dirty tampon bag? Bigfoot stole it. Jesus Christ. Why did it have to be like this? Harvey asked direct, pertinent questions about the Bigfoot arm, size, etc. Inker remembered that the Bigfoot reached in until the bicep completely filled up the window frame. 24 by 36 inches, brother. It was huge. Inker said that the arm was very large compared to a normal human arm. But it's a normal Hulk Hogan arm, though. That's what you should call that. How many Hulk Hogans was this arm? Like 0.5? It's like a normal human arm, maybe. He also stated that he remembered that the thumb on the creature didn't look or work the same as a human's. He stated that he thought the thumb works like the thumb of an ape. It would grasp in the same direction as the fingers. He stated that he distinctly remembered that the thumb of the creature had a very dark nail, but couldn't remember if the fingers had nails. That's weird. Inker recounted how the outside portion of the creature's arm had hair that was approximately 4 inches long, but the hair wasn't thick. The inside of the arm didn't have any hair. Bop Bops, can I find you on Instagram? Got some recommendations. I don't have an Instagram, but you can hit up my email, yakovalive@protonmail.com. It should be in the description. Please do hit me up. @SkinwalkerGang on Twitter. That's another one. @Yakov @kiwifarms.cc on the Fediverse. I'm very interested, so hit me up. Inker told Harvey he had screamed and squirmed his way off the toilet, and how his mother had run in and found him on the floor. What the Stop jerking off! Get off the floor! Stop letting Bigfoot jerk you off on the floor! Damn it, Mom. He stated that his dad grabbed the rifle and flashlight and chased the creature down into Mill Creek and eventually lost it. He lived in a very old house, long since demolished, on the property where he still resides. This is the same property that is still in the middle of sightings by an entire community 45 years later. It's also in the middle of Bigfoot Alley, baby. Bigfoot Alley. Gathering the Juggalos to be held at Bigfoot Alley this year. Whoop, whoop. Skinwalker Gang meet up at the Gathering of the Juggalos at Bigfoot Alley, baby. Inker's property sits about 400 feet from the start of Lower Mill Creek Road and contains approximately 300 feet of Mill Creek frontage. Mill Creek is directly behind their residence, and this is the area where the creature escaped in Anchor's bathroom scare. It is also the location of the escape in the Hank Maston incident. The area directly in front of Anchor's house is Lower Mill Creek Road, and across the street is a steep hillside where there are no homes, but it does contain heavy brush and trees. If a creature wanted to watch on this neighborhood, Lower and Upper Mill Creek Road would be optimum locations. If you drew a straight line from Ravenu Labari's residence on Upper Mill Creek Road to Anchor's residence on Lower Mill Creek Road, it would cover approximately 300 feet. On the night of Raven's incident, it is possible that the creature ran down the hill, across Anchor's yard, and into the creek, but this couldn't have happened until the officers had cleared the scene. There is an identifiable 45-year history of sightings on Mill Creek Road. Something is bringing the creatures back to this neighborhood, looking for human interaction, or accidentally having human contact. The sightings on the road appear to be accidental, but we can't definitively state that. The motives of the creature reaching into Anchor's bathroom could be as innocent as wanting human contact, a touch, or something even more sinister. We don't know. Anchor's second sketch was his sighting in the hills, but you know what? There was some... I skipped past these. I can't do that. This is the arm reaching through the window to grab the boy pooping on the toilet. Here, we have Anchor's hillside sighting, and we do have a Bigfoot butt in the frame. Bigfoot butt confirmed. Anchor's second sketch was his sighting in the hills above his residence. Anchor explained how he was hiking and thought he saw a stump on the opposite hillside. He said it caught his eye because he thought he saw movement. Anchor sat and watched the figure crouch into a small ball, and then the larger creature partially concealed itself behind a large fir tree. It appeared to Anchor that the larger creature was the parent, and the smaller creature was the child. He made it clear that if he hadn't seen the creature move that was in the ball, he would have walked by and never noticed it. He said that after he watched it for a few seconds, he knew he was looking at two Bigfoot. The behavior of these creatures fits with many animals in the wild. A deer will freeze in the brush and allow a hunter to walk by before it eventually moves. A mountain lion will sit in a tree and watch as prey or people walk by below. What is different about this sighting is that Anchor felt that the smaller creature was getting specific directions from the parent. With concealment and safety less than 5 feet from the smaller creature, this appears to be almost a safety and training session for the smaller creature. In any environment where there is a reproduction of the species, it is generally considered by science to be a healthy region. The observations made by witnesses in this book confirm that Hoopa is an area where Bigfoot is bringing its young and adolescent-aged children. These sightings indicate that Hoopa is still a preferred area for Bigfoot to venture. The last item we discussed with Anchor was the sighting he had made with Mary McClelland. Harvey had made a determination that Anchor had spent significant time explaining his sightings, and it would probably be prudent to show Mary's drawing to Anchor and gauge his response. Anchor was shown Mary McClelland's drawing, and he immediately stated that it was excellent. He pointed to the quadriceps muscle, and said it was large, as in the drawing. It was big. He confirmed it was big. Quadriceps confirmed for big. He said that the creature itself was very large and impressive. The pose that Mary had described was perfect for what they had seen. He stated that he could not do a better job of describing what they saw. Anchor did talk briefly about he and Mary watching the creature leave the area. It appeared odd to me that the creature was facing west towards the river, where there was nothing between the road and the water. Yet it changed its direction in the middle of the road, costing time and space, running across a small field and then leaping a fence into a person's yard. It would appear that the creature chose to go to a yard on the mountainside of the roadway versus going straight to the river. The last sketch of the day, and the last of the week, was with Michelle Mccarty. Michelle had been in the hospital earlier in the week and was recently released. I had been in contact with her and her daughter during the week, and each had encouraged me to continue to call until she was home. I eventually contacted Michelle on Friday morning, and she advised that she did want to do the sketch after she took a morning nap. We agreed that I would take Harvey to her residence, and they would conduct the interview in her living room. Michelle Mccarty's Sketches of the Creatures. This is one of my favorites. I love this. I love this little baby boy Bigfoot. Fucking, he don't know what he's doing. He needs guidance. I'll be his mentor. Show him Insane Clown Posse albums. Like all the cool kids Big Brothers did in middle school. Whoop whoop. Harvey, Gina, and I went to Michelle's home, and she was happy to see us. She was very interested to understand how the sketch process worked, because it had been on her mind for so many years. Harvey immediately went to work in an effort to speed the process for Michelle's comfort. It became apparent early in the meeting that Michelle's recollection of the incident and her ability to explain what she saw was sufficient for Harvey to complete 2 sketches. One sketch would be of the body and another of the face. Michelle's sighting is very significant, as she and her daughter are the only people I am aware of who have seen a young Bigfoot up close, and sufficient enough to complete a forensic drawing of the creature. It was also important for researchers to understand the rate of physical development of the creature, understand the muscle composition and the associated body structure. Harvey stated that Michelle did a very good job concentrating and explaining what she observed. She stated that the creature had a very sweet face, and its body was built like that of a 12-year-old boy. She explained to Harvey that the creature didn't show any fear, but it appeared to know that it had been caught eating berries, and it was best to get out of the area. She said that it had definite intent on leaving. It didn't run, but did move swiftly. Michelle also explained how the creature was taking the berries with what appeared to be its fingertips. It was not stripping the vines in an aggressive or destructive manner, and it looked to her that its fingers had dexterity enough to take one berry at a time. It's important to remember that this creature was witnessed by a yard full of kids, and they were not the catalyst for the creature leaving the area. The kids were in the yard first, and the creature walked up and started to eat berries in their presence. Harvey completed the sketches and then left the residence after approximately 90 minutes. He went back to the hotel room, where he added artistic touches that Michelle explained needed to be completed to enhance the appearance of the creature. Harvey said that he was excited to have completed a sketch of the creature as an adolescent, and he felt that he had captured what Michelle had seen. The body structure of Michelle's drawing is of a slightly built creature that does not appear to have a neck. She described the facial area as having some reddish tone, such as a younger human face may possess. She said that the creature looked friendly and imparted no fear. It did have some light beard on the chin and heavier hair length around the neck area. We're moving on to the analysis, but I'm cutting it off here. We got one more reading, and this shit will be over, and I will move on to the next book. I am going to read Juggalo by Steve Miller. The Insane Clown Posse and the World They Built, or something like that. Can't quite remember. I'm totally reading it. It's shorter than these books. It's like 100 pages shorter, so I should be able to breeze through it like I always say. Like I always lie. Fucking liar. So I do want to let everyone know to go to yakovalive.com and listen to podcasts therein. Hit that merch tab. Buy those t-shirts. Patreon.com/yakovalive. If you want to come hang out in the Discord, watch movies, watch wrestling, play video games, talk bullshit, be on podcasts. I need more panelists. At Skinwalker Gang on Twitter. With that, I will catch you next time. And meet me at the Gathering of the Juggalos, first week of August, 3rd through the 6th, Thornville, Ohio, baby. JuggaloGathering.com to get your goddamn tickets. They're expensive. It's worth it. I will be there. Skinwalker Gang will be there in force. We will party harder than we have ever partied, ever. Believe me, that's not a joke. I'm talking fucking mind blown in the fucking mosh pit with fireworks going all around you. Can't fucking wait. And in my mind, I'm already in Thornville, baby. When I zone the fuck out at work, I'm in that fucking pit. When I dream at night, I'm at the fucking gathering. And you should be too. If you have any interest, hit me up. Hit me up, yakovalive@protonmail.com if you want to email me. At Skinwalker Gang on Twitter. If you have any interest in going to this thing, fucking hit me up. I'll be there. I'll have the sickest camp. Come join us. Fuck yeah.